So this morning when I got up out of bed, I got a chance to look at this year's yearbook, which those of you who worked on the yearbook, if you're in this room, congratulations, it's really awesome. Can't hear it. Can't hear all. Get that other microphone, I'm sorry, the other speakers to work over there. Louder, please.
That's better.
That's better, actually? Yeah. So, as I was saying, this morning, I had the opportunity to look at the yearbook, which I said was just awesome. And I'm going off script, because I said my wife said, never go off script. Never go off script. And when I looked at the yearbook, there were all these photos of all of you, or many of you in this room. When you were in 5th grade, 6th grade, and that's one of the joys of being at a school like Overlake, because there are a lot of students who start in 5th and 6th grade. And those pictures you all, they're so sweet, excited, and like big smiles on your face, and the world looks so new. You can see like in your eyes, the world just looks so new, and you're just like ready to dive in. And then when I look at you all today, the truth is I still see the same thing. Like I do see like, you're like excited, you're ready to kind of take on the world, simply in a different way than maybe when you were in 5th or 6th grade. But you're ready to sort of like jump into the next thing. And that for me was just so powerful to see and to think about it all. And it kind of reminded me a little bit about that saying, and maybe you've heard me say it before, but it's really, really true, is that the days can feel long as a parent, but the years are incredibly short. Here we are today with all these kids. So maybe I actually won't go back to the script. So here we are with all of you. So here we are with all of you, all of these students. And we're all here because we care about you. We've seen you grow up in lots of different ways at school. And everybody in this room, in some part of them, loves you for who you are. And that's true certainly for your parents. And remember, your parents see you as like somebody they can hold in their arms. Like when they look at you, they still imagine like doing this. Or I'm sure some of you remember those like late night walks when you had like a 5 or 4 month old and they couldn't be consoled, and so you were walking around at night trying to get them to go back to sleep because you really had to get back to sleep. So they all look at you and they see that. And they also see you as like a 17 and 18-year-old person. So, and so they love you with all of their heart. I remember once I was in a meeting with a parent, it actually wasn't Overlake, it was another school, and the parent said to me, I am completely rational about my child. And I was like, that's impossible, because your heart is walking down the street every day, you can't be rational about that. So they love you in a way that no one probably will in your life. In fact, today, Susan, when we were driving here, I said, Susan, I know you better than anybody. She said, no, you don't know me as well as my mother knows me. So these are the people who will be with you for the rest of your life. And then you have these other people in the room, your advisors, your friends, who also will have a part of your life. And they'll be, you will stay connected with them. Today it's a lot easier than when we were growing up. You had to write letters, you put a stamp on it, you put them in, hopefully you got a letter back. And when you guys were able to stay in touch with each other, the idea of losing touch with someone really isn't going to be part of the vocabulary. So you've got these friends, you've got your advisors, and these people also really care about you and love you and want you to be successful. So, enjoy today. There are not many times in your life, by the way, and I'm talking to students now, there are not many times in your life when somebody is going to get up and say some things about you that are incredibly personal, powerful, and make you feel connected to them. And as I reflected on that, I felt like, when does that happen in your life? It happens probably if you get married. Like some people get up and say great things about, oh, I'm so excited. It also happens at your funeral. So enjoy today. And make sure that you spend time with your parents, let them take those photos, let them hug you, let them do all the things that parents want to do, because this is the way that they are releasing you to the next experience. All right, before I go on, I do want to just mention a few people who made this event possible. I want to thank the members of the Senior Brunch Committee, and I'll call them out, and we should then recognize them all, because you can imagine putting on a party for this size of group of people. As I mentioned, it's like a wedding. At a wedding, this is kind of like a wedding. So, thank you to Sandy Bush, Judith Sinclair, who are the chairs. Thank you. And helping them out, the other parts of the group were Lydia Abbott, Tanya Button, Dee Dolan, Terry Fujinaga, Molly Hill, and Patty Oriana. So thank you all. And I'm now going to turn it over to our MC for today, and that's Megan Waddle. And I want to thank and recognize her too. Megan has one of those jobs at school that can be a thankless job. You're the person who has to sort of deal with situations that are never all that pleasant at school sometimes. But I have to say that Megan does an incredible job. And so much of what happens at Overlake is a result of her care, and her commitment, and her planning. So thank you to Megan, and I'll turn it over to her. Thank you to you all.
So, before we get going with all the senior speeches, can you now hear us okay on this side? No. Well, I'm going to make it second. How's that do? All right. How about now? No. Speaker. So I'm going to take about 2 more minutes to try to figure out the speaker, and we're going to get started so the other half of the room can hear all the speeches. Thanks for your patience. All right, you ready? All right, so class of 2019, you guys did it. Let's do it, right? Today's a great day. So before we talk about today, I'm going to talk about next week. So next Sunday, we'll all gather again in a much larger space with green robes and graduation caps to officially declare you as graduates of the Overlake School. The purpose of that ceremony, friends, is to recognize the amazing feat of completing your course of study here. This morning, however, we come together to recognize the journey each of you have taken to get to that point. The time for us as faculty, staff, and parents to let you know how much we valued you and being a part of that journey. We expected a lot out of you, class of 2019. We expected excellence and curiosity, integrity and responsibility, participation and spirit, and then more excellence. We expected not enough sleep, and we expected it again the next day. But no matter how high we raised that bar, how long those papers got, how hard those exams, how grueling those practices and those road trips, or how exhausting those rehearsals, you guys rose to every challenge. You guys gave it your best, and we applaud you for that. Sure, sometimes you guys snuck out the Starbucks, parked in the faculty staff lot. You guys weren't as bad as class of 2018 with cleaned up the campus center, so I appreciate that. So there's this concept of attending announcements at homeroom we didn't do so well at this year. Do we really have to be there? Yes, you do. The science explains itself, guys. So remember that time we had to ban spoons? Anybody? Do the parents know anything about this? We had to ban spoons for the first time in school history because we had a few concussions, bloody knuckles, and bruises. Yikes. Several concussions? Wow. As you all know, this class is crazy competitive. But despite some of those frustrating things that I had to deal with, I loved your class, and here's why. You are a group of young people willing to speak truth to power. You push this institution when it comes to our DEI and mental health issues. You guys are highly independent learners. You're amazingly loyal and consistently looking for opportunities to come together as a class and respect each other's differences. You're one of the most athletic, intellectual, artistic, and philanthropic classes we've had in the last decade. I hope you guys own that. It's a pretty special class that we have here today. You may not care about all the same things, but what you do care about, you care deeply about. In the end, you discover the power of accepting yourself for who you are and being accepted in return. Your time at Overlake, surrounded by the people at the tables here today and in this room, have shaped and influenced you. In return, this class has shaped and influenced this institution, and I want to thank you for that. Today is also for the parents. All right? So we are grateful for our parent community. They have loved and supported you with probably a dedication you'll hardly imagine until you maybe choose to have kids in the future. They have watched you as you transform into these unsure of yourself children in 5th, 6th, or 9th grade when they dropped you off, to grown, well-read, confident, polished young people sitting here today. Along the way, they celebrated with you through the accomplishments and suffered with you through the disappointments. Convinced you to stop studying and get some sleep. Woke you up the next morning so you wouldn't be late. Your parents helped you pick you up and carry you on when you didn't get that grade you wanted, get that part you wanted in the play, get that team you wanted. And sometimes, just sometimes, they backed off when you asked them to. Throughout the years, your parents were, that's funny. It's supposed to be sentimental. All right. Throughout the years, your parents have always been proud of who you are and believe in you. And they are grateful for the better people they have become because of you. Parents, as many as 8 years ago today, you entrusted us with these owls, trusting that they would grow up in a culture of involvement and positive relationships, surrounded by students who would be good and loyal friends, and adults who would challenge them, look after them, and treat them with mutual respect. We all know that Overlake was not a magic island, free from the pitfalls of adolescence, but we are grateful to the trust that you have given us as an institution. Finally, today is a time to be grateful for our senior advisors. They spent 4 years crafting these little homeroom families out of this class of 2019. I am grateful for them and all that they've sacrificed for you. They sought to be your consistent point of contact through the roller coaster of high school. Along the way, that meant, let's see, counselor, nag, Chipotle delivery driver, cheerleader, nag, homeroom sweatshirt designer, life coach, and some of you nag again, and they really mean it this time. Get those service hours in. There's 7 of you. I am grateful that our advisors are here to share with us today just a few of their proud moments of your journeys. They definitely do not have time to share it all, but hopefully you get a little glimpse into what made each of our graduates a special and important part of the class of 2019. Please welcome our first advisory duo, Miss Molly Page and Jessica Hansen. Thank you.
Hansen, or is it Page homeroom, you're almost there. After 2, 4, or 7, or 8 years, your time at Overlake is coming to an end. When Jessica asked me to take over as your advisor, she described you as esoterically athletic, because instead of being part of the mainstream, you were amazingly, distinctly individual. Sailors, skaters, divers, dancers. She told me that you opened your hearts and minds, your eyes and ears, engaging with stories and science, math, and music. She said that you bonded together with smiles and no amount of sarcasm, and that snacks were going to be an extremely important part of homeroom. I am thankful to have gotten to know you better and during your final year at Overlake. Homeroom was always the highlight of my day. From rowdy games of cards, to French toast, to hanging out with the 8th graders. Every day was an adventure. And now in the days before you soar from the owl's nest, we'd like to share one last song for each of you, and a Spotify playlist so that you can listen to them over and over.
I am not a crier. If I cry, you'll just have to roll with it. Andrew, from adorable squid to your current enthusiasm for raptors, you've always been one to jump into your passions with both feet. You care deeply for others and for the world we all inhabit. We definitely appreciate your wry humor and are always amazed by your strong sense for justice and fairness. For your song, we chose something classic and sunny and a little bit funny, because we can't think of a better place to be than under the sea in an octopus's garden with you. Alyssa, while you came to Overlake as a junior, it feels like you've always been a part of our little homeroom family. From volleyball to DECA, you hit the ground running and never looked back. Your entrepreneurial spirit has taken you to a national conference in Orlando and an internship closer to home. You've proven yourself a wonderful friend and a conscientious student. In the future, when you think back on the years you spent, we hope you hold on to the spinning, the confetti, and the memories, as Taylor Swift writes in Long Live. Emma, you were another late-breaking addition to our crew, and we're so happy to have had the opportunity to know you. A horsewoman and camp counselor, you would rather be outdoors than inside. You are fearless, facing challenges head-on and triumphing in the end. Your laughter and loyalty bring happiness to those lucky enough to be in your sphere. Always remember that in quilting and many other endeavors, finished can be more important than perfect. Don't doubt it, victory is in your veins. You will always rise. Katie, you are an irrepressibly ebullient one of a kind. You're comfortable in your own skin and unapologetically yourself. Spoons champion, surfer girl, camp counselor for kids with cancer, and the chief consumer of the Hershey Kisses that were hidden in my file cabinet. You were so impressive as you smiled through the tears that occasionally cropped up during your years in the upper school. We know that as you embark on the next chapter, you will heed Shakira's words by not giving up, not giving in, and trying everything. John, thoughtful listener, quiet leader, these are the images that come to mind when we picture you. Your contributions to the school have been truly remarkable, working with the counseling office as a forefront peer leader, helping coach middle school ultimate frisbee, and serving as an ASB officer. You are an artistic adventurer. A deep thinker, you share your sentiments, both complimentary and critical, with eloquence and a desire to always make things better. And now it's time to sing out, celebrate, and remember your years in the life of friends, seasons of love. Kasani, you are indefatigably kind. You keep going with spirit even when the going gets tough, like for instance with a broken foot. Your heart shines through in everything you do, from working with elementary students in Florida to caring for cats in Mauritius. Both the human and non-human animals benefit truly from your care. We want you to roar as loudly as the big cats you've been taking care of, because you've got the eye of the tiger dancing through the fire, and you are indeed a champion. Phoebe, from science to the stage, you give everything you do 150%. You've harnessed your spectacular talent and energy to give voice to the causes near and dear to you. From the magazine you started to provide a platform for LGBT writers to your research on the ISS heat exchangers, your interests are as expansive as your heart. So sail on, Silver Girl. Your time has come to shine as brightly as the stars we're sure you'll reach. Natasha, you are full of unexpected surprises. Before you, we didn't know competitive roller skating was a thing. Beneath your sometimes blunt persona is a closet romantic, an avid reader, and a creative writer. You know yourself, share your thoughts with those around you, and we can't wait to read your first novel. Pink aptly described you when she said you can light up the world. No one can be like you anyway. Okay, I'm doing these out of order. I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull it off and like string it long enough for Evan, driven, goal-oriented, always striving for excellence. You commit yourself to a task and execute it with skill. From Builders Club leader to volleyball manager, your contributions to the community show you are more than just an academic. You are also responsible for uttering one of the quotes I most distinctly remember from our homeroom years together. As we all work together to solve yet another picture riddle, ultimately having to look up the answer in the back of the book, you loudly and indignantly exclaimed, "We just got rickrolled by an emoji puzzle." So Mr. Astley is on the list as a song to remember the fun times. Let's see. Where is he? There he is. Roger. You are the only high school student we know who can quote mid-1990s politicians with accuracy, humor, and panache. You are the cool band we haven't heard of yet, but we will definitely stay tuned on Spotify for Blue Rover, Steve's Mind, or your next musical venture. How many of us in this room can boast of inspiring an entire collection of Halloween costumes from Fly Fishing Roger to Safety Roger? In recognition of your humor and slightly contrary nature, you say goodbye and we say hello. And for all of you, we send you on your way with the words of Cyndi Lauper or Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick, if we must go there. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors are beautiful like a rainbow.
Okay. So I think my rookie mistake
mistake here was not printing out my speech in larger font. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, when I stop to think about the people that make up the Bel Air homeroom, as I often have the past 4 years, I can't help but be astonished at how far they've come since our first day wearing neon orange t-shirts at freshman orientation. Seeing them today, I am confident that as they leave Overlake, each of them is at the beginning of a unique and remarkable journey. Joseph, Ted, Nicole, Sam, Nachika, and Claire. I couldn't have asked for kinder, more fun, harder working advisees. To start, I just want to thank you all for helping me become a better advisor and a better person. I learned so much from you over the years. I hope that each of you knew, even when I made mistakes, that I had your back, that I cared about you and wanted the best for each of you. So many moments stand out from the last 4 years. Let's go all the way back and remember our first group outing to the haunted house. I think we all learned a lot about each other that night. I learned that Ted gets really, really angry and doesn't like cheap scare tactics. I learned that Sam literally knows everybody. I learned that Nicole says a lot of words during a long car ride. I think we all learned that we don't like haunted houses very much. But we leaned on each other that night, literally and figuratively. It hasn't always been smooth sailing in our group. The sophomore year storming phase was particularly difficult and we experienced some changes in the homeroom. But you were all ready to move on, start fresh, and we did. I think we peaked at senior year retreat, only hindered by Joseph's absence. There were so many awesome moments during those 2 days, which you'll hear some about later. But my favorite was the ropes course. I think most of us were all kind of reticent to hang from a rope at the top of a tree and then climb like a 100-foot tall tree and jump into thin air. But we all did it, and we celebrated each one's victory as if it were our own. And so let's not forget what I heard when I was standing at the top of that tree. It's all about the mindset. One thing each advisor needs to figure out pretty quickly is what food will calm the beasts. Advisors. The first year it was easier. Everyone liked candy or cinnamon rolls in the waffle iron or brought brownies. But you guys and your tastes have changed over the years. Sam has always been an equal opportunity snack eater, willing to partake in any snack with sincere gratitude and abandon. A couple of days before retreat senior year, we found out that we were going to be doing a homeroom tug of war. We enlisted Crummy's help to try to figure out how we could apply the laws of physics to tug of war. The day of the tug of war, Sam showed up with gloves, ready to do whatever it took to help our little homeroom group win that contest. And I'd love to say that science and Sam's glove won that day, but unfortunately we were dragged across the ground. Bringing gloves to a tug of war is typical Sam. He gives 100% to everything he does with a smile on his face. Sam has totally immersed himself at Overlake. He was elected mayor of the Greater Puget Sound region of JSA, has participated in every single school play since his freshman year, all while volunteering on political campaigns and being a student. Sam is the only high school kid who takes conference calls. In the homeroom group, he was our storyteller. Whether it was meeting ghosts while skiing, almost getting into about 5 fender benders, the hilarity of having a whole bunch of brothers, or supporting a losing football team, sorry Jets, Sam always had a great story for us. Nicole was one of the quieter members of our homeroom, but when she spoke up, she always had something really valuable to say. She often surprised us with fun treats that everybody in our homeroom could eat, which was no small feat since we have gluten allergies. Nicole's presence is felt through her kindness, hard work serving her community, both at Overlake and Outreach Club and with the Blood Drive, and with her extensive volunteer work at Blood Works Northwest and the Boys and Girls Club. Nicole also has an awesome work ethic and takes great pride in what she does. I was her teacher for sophomore year science, and I witnessed this firsthand. And she is still one of my hardest working students. Her interest in the medical field and desire to help educate people culminated in your awesome senior project about a book with children with cystic fibrosis. I figured out that I had really had a handle on my homeroom during the senior retreat. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. We were given some time together as an advisory, and when I returned to find them,
Sam asked me a question. Stephanie, which one of us do you think was licked at a party? And without a beat, I answered Nicole. And they all erupted with, what? No way, how did you know that? And I said, it's always the ones you least expect. Ted Howard. Ted is a study of contrasts. He comes across as someone whose only attitude is laissez-faire, but there are a few things for which Ted is incredibly passionate. Many of you have seen Ted do one of his greatest passions, playing music. Not only does he play the trombone in jazz band, but he's in a band with some other fellow Overlakers and has played at the Gala and BenCon. Ted likes cool bands with names like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Yes! Ted also started powerlifting junior year and is active in competitions. Before his competitions, he'd be really serious about what he ate, so I would bring apples for Ted, but he would always bake our group the most amazing cookies of all time, and I'm really, really gonna miss that. It would be easy to brush Ted off as someone who doesn't care, but when Ted feels comfortable with you, he allows you to see a very tender side, and I feel lucky to have been given a glimpse of that. What I appreciate the most about Ted, though, is his ability to not take life too seriously. It did make my role as your advisor pretty exciting at times. But I think we should all try to be a little bit more like you, Ted. And I still need that cookie recipe, by the way. Claire unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but I did want to just say some brief remarks about one of my most important members of my homeroom. I remember Claire as a freshman, calming her down when she was anxious about giving a speech for Army's English class. Fast forward to the end of her junior year when she decided to run for spirit leader and needed to make a speech in front of the entire upper school. She gave an awesome speech and was a great leader on the ASB. Claire was our homeroom spirit captain too. She was the kind of person who always tried to be positive about the activities we did, and her enthusiastic spirit rubbed off on the rest of us. I could always tell how Claire was doing by what homeroom snack she ate. When she was feeling really good, she stuck to her paleo diet, and it was carrots and grapes. But at the end of this first semester of senior year, when everyone was deep in the college app process, paleo went right out the window, and she ate zebra popcorn like a champion. Claire always came to homeroom with a smile on her face and always brought positive energy to the group. She listened to everyone's opinion but wasn't afraid to voice her own. Joseph was a very consistent consumer of Swedish fish for about 2 years until I literally bought the biggest bag of Swedish fish I could find, and then he decided he didn't like Swedish fish anymore. Of all my advisees, Joseph sought me out the most for advice or to tell me how things were going. When everyone else took off for break, more often than not, Joseph would hang out a bit and we'd chat about school, family, soccer, and I really appreciated those conversations and opportunities to get to know him better. Joseph is an amazing person who has a very defined moral code. What is so awesome about him, though, is how his values define his every action. He's honest, works hard, never gives up, and tries to bring people together. He has done so much great work helping teachers and students learn how to be more inclusive, how to promote diversity on campus and out in the community. You have so many varied passions, singing in chamber choir, soccer, and apparently TikToks. I am happy to see him succeed at so many things and pursue his passion for soccer next year. Nachiket. One of the things I remember about Nachiket is how persistent he and Joseph were trying to take our extra homeroom fund and invest it in a canoe during sophomore and junior years. Another random fact I learned about Nachiket is his irrational dislike of Cheerios. Nachiket's strategic PE selection and elective choices allowed him to take a crazy hard course load. For any normal human being, this would have been almost an impossible feat, but every time I saw his registration form, I knew he could handle it. I think I actually saw Nachiket stressed out like one time, and his literally elevated level of stress was about 20 notches below my actual functioning stress level. Nachiket works extremely hard and has had the goal of doing computer science since forever. You've done summer courses, internships, in addition to all the comp sci courses Overlake offers, as well as your senior project to develop your skills in that area.
He is just the nicest person and has a fun sense of humor and unshaking loyalty to his friends and a great appreciation for what he's been given. Belly or homies? I know we will all be hearing about your amazing adventures and work and discoveries and political campaigns for years to come. You have all made your mark on your peers, this school, and on me. You have been staunch defenders of mispronunciations of my name and fun people to learn to know over the last few years. I am proud to have known you, and hopefully you've left with a few good memories of me too. I wish you all the best.
Hi. So it seems like such a short time ago that I was greeting my new freshman advisory. Have to admit it's a blur to me now. The 4 years have flown by. I imagine it's a blur to you all too. Yes. What stands out from that first year were some intense discussions on race and Varun's bright red shoes. Over the years, there's been a little ebb and flow in our homeroom. We gained Sarah sophomore year and Keely junior year, and as Keely likes to say, she and Jay came in together. Jay and I have worked together on a number of things besides advisory. In one aspect of our teamwork, we have collaborated on instruction on digital citizenship issues, including evaluating websites and news sources. One of the things that we warn kids about is clickbait. But who can resist finding out if they can accurately guess from what you call a can of soda where you grew up, or what sort of mythical creature you might be? Jay and I were sitting around thinking of this speech, and we thought about what sort of wild creature might each of our advisees be at heart. We will start off with Evan. My first memory of Evan was when he was an 8th grader, and he and Jack Shushak came to the library and wanted to redesign my library webpage. They had fabulous cutting-edge ideas and even a rough prototype, and although that didn't come to fruition, it was a sign of things to come. How to describe Evan? He is analytical, strategic, focused, and all in on whatever he is working on. I think about his soccer years and how he managed to be such a great defender, but racking up injuries as a consequence of not holding anything back. And his coding skills are legendary, which speaks volumes as his senior class has some big competition in that area. He is one of the go-to tech kids and wound up not only taking college-level coding courses, but also teaching his peers. Most recently this spring, he was recruited to come up with a tech solution for announcements called The Nest for Overlake, and he did it. So what creature could we pick for Evan? A creature that is adroit, shows great ingenuity and strategic, and goes for it. Why the octopus, of course. I know this sounds a bit strange, and yes, technically an octopus is an invertebrate, not an animal. Remember the stories of the octopus, though, that got out of the tank and then managed to turn on a spigot to flood the lab? Evan, too, is unstoppable. Who knows what miraculous things he will invent or create code for?
Nate, or Check Nate, as he is affectionately known on campus, is best known for his sly and subtle, but engaged, leadership and participation. He's an avid sports player, spending a lot of time on the basketball court as well as the ultimate field, but he's especially known for his acumen on the chessboard. He has been an instrumental, charismatic leader responsible for the development of Overlake's chess program in the last couple of years. And it was under his pressing that the team really committed to going to nationals, where they placed 15th out of over 450 teams. He has been an incredible mentor to younger players as young as 6th grade, and has even served as the assistant coach to the middle school ultimate team this year. Nate is sly like a fox, independent and a do-it-yourself kind of guy. Exactly the kind of person we all want more of in our lives. Easygoing, thoughtful, and funny. I'll miss Nate's listen before you talk demeanor and his sense of humor in our advisory.
Keely. When I think of Keely, what comes to mind is all the ways she's engaged with life. With Overlake, with her learning, and with service. She has been a student ambassador for Overlake since 6th grade, helping with admission tours. She was an integral part of the Overlake Championship soccer team, and she brought that level of engagement to our advisory. One of our most consistent bringers of snacks and unfailingly participating in whatever we were up to that day. One of the things that I enjoy most about Keely is how she is so authentic, sharing how she feels about whatever it is, positive or negative. You don't have to guess what she is thinking. It may seem like a stretch, but she puts us in mind of the kangaroo. Not because she is jumpy, but because she finds ways to liven up any situation, and she's a creative problem solver and readily steps out of her comfort zone to work and to learn. This spring, it has been clear that Keely is poised and ready to leap into her new adventure, and here's all our wishes to go with you.
Nathan. When thinking about what kind of animal Nathan was, our initial thought was a sloth. Now, hear me out on this one. Nathan would often roll into advisory a couple minutes late, asking about the attendance policy and how many times you could miss advisory without having to talk to Megan. But ultimately, we settled on the wolf because Nathan is above all reliable, caring, and loyal, even if he is sometimes a bit hard to find. Nathan was always the one to bake homemade brownies for advisory, always the one to show up for campus center cleanup. Like a wolf, Nathan is an avid explorer of land and sea, gaining his scuba certification many years ago. One of my colleagues at Overlake said, Nathan is someone who colors outside of life's lines and artfully pushes boundaries of most comfort zones. We will miss Nathan's innate leadership, his brownies, and his artful pushing of boundaries.
So Andrea has a sense of directed wanderlust. She puts us in mind of a migratory bird, like a swallow that flits from Asia to Europe. She has an uncanny ability to adapt to different places. After spending her sophomore year in Rome, I was concerned that she would have a difficult time transitioning back into Overlake. But it didn't take her long to find her feet here and settle down, showing this adaptability on her home turf, which can sometimes be the hardest place to do so. You can't keep her in the Pacific Northwest for long. She travels a good bit, but she is not a tourist. She is curious about history and culture and engages with people in order to understand their lives and interests. She has talked about careers in journalism or photojournalism and has already had a photo published in a best of forum. Like a swallow who flies almost interminably, she really spread her wings this senior year, juggling lifeguarding, school, and special projects. With Hong Kong and London in her recent sights, we look forward to seeing where her adventure spirit will take her.
Our advisory gained Sarah sophomore year. Sarah is a great communicator, has a great sense of humor, and is a real social connector. For Sarah, we chose a dolphin. As the fun person in the room that always brings a sense of humor and lightness to situations. Dolphins are often characterized by their social nature, social behavior, playful nature, and intelligence. Sarah has all of these things. Like a dolphin at SeaWorld, Sarah is easy to approach, friendly, funny, and inviting. She's whip smart and has always brought kindness and positivity to the group. She reaches outside her comfort zone to help others always feel like part of the group. Anne and I will miss Sarah's infectious positivity, curiosity, and outgoing nature. The world would be wise not to underestimate Sarah Schwartz.
Abigail. Abigail flies under the radar a bit, but when she pops up, it is hard to miss her. Like a Merkhead, she invests herself in her chosen groups: Ultimate, Choir, Theater, the Gay Straight Alliance. Most recently, we have seen her featured as Mrs. Webb in the school production of Our Town and honored by the Board of Trustees for her leadership in equity and social justice. Abby isn't the loudest one in the room. We have all realized the benefit of listening to her when she talks. She makes it all look easy as she leads by example. Meerkats are social animals who work for the group, are a bit serious, and yet take some risks. That describes Abigail. She has a broad range of interests and in her own charming way can make very divergent cultures part of her own unique style. Risk-taking is there too. She stunned us all one day by her prowess and luck with our Pass the Pig session, risking it all the time to win the day. There are so many directions Abby can go in, it will be interesting to see which she chooses.
Early on junior year, a few members of our advisory became obsessed with the idea of getting a homeroom hamster and naming it Bebo. Gaia was at the forefront of this endeavor, which I think was an effort to bring some shared purpose and entertainment to our advisory. Less entertaining was Gaia's involvement in Overlake's BARC canvas course, which covered 2016's hottest dank memes, like Pickles Cage. Other than that, Gaia has been an incredible leader for social justice to our community, advocating for what's right through his work on affinity groups, Student Diversity Leadership Conference, and this year's Overlake Talks, finally being recognized by the Board of Trustees for his leadership in equity and social justice. Gaia is our lion, and while he may end up getting himself into the occasional precarious situation, he ultimately fights for what he believes in and brings his signature humor, compassion, and leadership.
Okay, Eliza isn't here, but I wanted to also recognize her. Jay and I would liken Eliza to an owl, maybe in particular a barn owl. Certainly, Eliza is a creative thinker, putting things together you would not necessarily think were juxtaposed, asking incredible questions. She is observant and a talented musician, playing the harp, guitar, and ukulele. Eliza soars with the owls, looking at the big picture and vision. Little wonder that some of the details may momentarily escape her. She has a tremendous connection to nature and creating multimedia, putting together poetry, photography, and music. We will miss our deep talks and seeing her creative outlets come to fruition.
Finally, Varun. I joined the Yule Advisory at the beginning of junior year, and the first activity that we really did together was collect food donations at the local QFC for service day, or for retreats rather. Early in the day, I noticed some of the group was off doing something and looking a little bit shady. When I went over to ask what they were doing, Varun told me, well, we bought some lottery tickets, and we won. So, can you cash them for us? I couldn't help but laugh at the nerve of not only buying lottery tickets during a school service trip, but then asking your brand new advisor to cash them out for you. I told him that we could do it as long as we promptly donated the money to the cause of our service day. Varun is the beaver of our advisory. Because he is a builder, an opportunist, and a leader. An award-winning member of DECA, he came up with multiple top 10 finishes, traveling to DECA Nationals in Orlando this past April. He's a budding filmmaker, and as some of you know, a serious sneaker connoisseur. I'll miss Varun for his creativity, his persistence, sense of humor, and his excitement for building new things. This group of wild animals has been a joy to get to spend the last few years with. Whether asking why Overlake has homework, advocating for a homeroom hamster named Bebo, or asking for another Costco lunch of pizzas, chicken bakes, and churros, we always cared for each other and had fun. Not to mention that we were the senior class tug of war champions at the retreat. So no small feat against these other mighty advisories, thank you. Anna and I will so miss your laughter and friendly faces at our homeroom table in the library where you've always looked out for each other. We know you're off to great adventures and hope you'll let us know what amazing things you're doing as you head out to change the world. Thanks.
As I started to write my thoughts down about the fine homeroom, I found my brain running from one place to another, trying to put things in a logical order. I was looking for things that would help jog my memory so I wouldn't forget. So I took some of my mother's advice. As kids, parents do have good advice from time to time. And I started looking through what she calls that electronic photo album. As I started this trip down memory lane, I laughed a lot, I noticed how much we had all changed, and I realized I was part of a pretty amazing group. The growth I have seen, while messy at times and not without mistakes or missteps along the way, is something that I believe will serve you all well moving forward. As part of the athletic department, I see this group as a team. They are all accomplished athletes in their own way. However, being part of a team is not about athletic performance. To me, it's the time together on bus rides, getting coffee, campouts, service days, Bagel Tuesdays. So as we conclude our 4 years, I would like to present some postseason awards to these seniors. The Speed Racer Award. Sophia receives this award not because she has not been known to drive fast, but because she is a driven young woman. She has a sharp focus on her goals and works hard to achieve them. What many at school don't see is her willingness and joy she creates when working with younger kids. Whether it be playing games with our middle school buddy homeroom or working with kids during service days, she is one of the first to jump in and start the fun and laughter. I also appreciate that she is comfortable enough to share her opinion when I would ask something in homeroom like, what do you think about? Or how can we change? I think you kind of get the idea. She was not, wasn't reserved about sharing that opinion, which is great. She moves quickly and is a self-starter. If you're ever looking for her, I think the place to check out is the front of the pack, the same place you're going to be finding her soon on the racetrack. The Prefontaine Award. When I think of Esteban, there are many images that pop into my mind, but one of the most vivid occurred back in freshman year. At that time, he was running cross country, and the team had traveled to South Woodby for bi-districts with hope of qualifying for state. It was a rainy, overcast day, perfect for running. The race began, and with each lap on the course, it was apparent Esteban was running well. As he entered the stadium for the last 3/4 of the lap, you could see that he was reaching deep inside, pushing himself to finish and displace other runners. As he crossed the finish line, he had absolutely nothing left and collapsed from giving his all. It was a program-changing effort and an example of what he brought to the homeroom: grit, determination, and his willingness to take risks, putting the team ahead of himself. The Misty Copeland Award. While known for her dancing and her hours upon hours she devoted to her craft, Renee is a great example of an Overlake student making lemonade out of lemons. Renee faced many months of rehabilitation work after not having 1 but 2 knee surgeries done. While this closed the door on her dancing for a while, she took advantage of the time and was able to work diligently on her craft, becoming an accomplished photographer and contributed to many school publications. Renee works with a variety of groups on campus, trailblazing through, trying to make a difference not only for herself, but those coming behind her. She exemplifies the idea of a 5-tool player: a dancer, a singer, an actress, a big heart, and a caring soul for her friends, family, and classmates. The Stephen Wright Award. Felix is a kind, thoughtful, caring young man with a disarming, dry, and I mean very dry, sense of humor. The fall and winter sports seasons were some of my favorite times to be at announcements. If Felix was not in attendance when we did kind of the head count, I was happy to see Felix in line to do an announcement. Why? Because I knew when he spoke, it was going to be awesome. Because I knew, he would be very straightforward, informative, and the delivery was going to be done with a very serious face, fantastic timing, and absolutely no expression in his voice. By the end, he would usually start cracking up himself along with many others. He is a great communicator and has developed into a quiet leader. When asked, he is not shy about giving you an insightful and thoughtful answers to your questions, but he is also not afraid to tell you he does not know. He also cares about his homies, classmates, and friends' opinion and manages to see the bright side of most situations. He has, without a doubt, been a steadying force on our team. The Where Is My Bag Award. Lucas has come a long way from not getting his backpack on the bus for freshman retreats. While a little shy at first, I have learned about Lucas' warmth and giving side. One of these opportunities occurred sophomore year during service day when we went to a local food bank to sort food and help with the daily distribution. I can remember watching and noticing how he greeted each person with a genuine warm smile on his face and a sense of compassion as those less fortunate than him walked through the line. While this example occurred early in our homeroom adventure, it was a consistent theme for all 4 years. While a quieter member of what could be a loud group, he was never without a humorous look or comment. Much like being on the soccer field, he was able to keep us moving forward and direct us from the back. The Get It Done Award. This award goes to Zaid. He has developed into what I call the consummate team player, the person who will get things done for the betterment of the team. His experience over the past summers as a camp counselor, working with 10 to 14-year-olds, has taught him a great deal, including responsibility, patience, and humility. It's been enjoyable for me to watch the growth of Zaid inside and outside of homeroom. This greater understanding of self has elevated Zaid. I feel like I have watched this butterfly come out of a cocoon, display confidence with his new wings, and take off. He is a selfless contributor to our homeroom, and I couldn't be more proud of the strides he's made. The Free Agent Award. We've had a couple of free agents in the homeroom, but this one goes to Evan. While he did not start with us, I couldn't be happier that he ended with us. Before joining us officially, we met for coffee and had a great conversation. I can remember walking away knowing he was going to fit right in and be a great member of our team. Many have seen his physical and leadership skills on display during soccer games, with and without a cast or stitches in his head. But many don't see his skill as a gifted lister. During homeroom discussions, he is not usually the first one to respond, but often takes time to process what people are saying and invites others to participate. This is not an easy skill to master, but one that I think gives him insight into those around you. Evan approaches most days with a smile, positive attitude, invites those in around him. The Don Baylor Award. Austin is getting this award because there is no one that is going to outwork him. For Austin, it does not matter if he's in the classroom, the weight room, or the baseball diamond, he's going to work hard. I know he has learned that even if you put in all the hard work, you still may not get the results you planned for. However, that is no reason not to come back the next day and work hard. In addition to putting in the hard work, he is also a person willing to take part. He's also a person willing to put himself or the team ahead of himself. A prime example can be seen from his baseball season. Austin set a statistical team record for hit by pitch in a single season. You might think this makes him an unlucky player to hold that record. In fact, the majority of the time, the hitter knows when there's a good likelihood of an inside pitch coming next. Yet, you choose not to move when you see that inside pitch coming. Instead, he would do what was best for the team and wear it. Like Don Baylor, Austin has been known for running a hard 90 after such a pitch. While he may not be the fastest or the flashiest, he is the type of person you want on your team. The Snoopy Dog Award. This award goes to Liv. I think many of you can envision the iconic images of Snoopy hanging it out on his house, chilling, right? Much like Snoopy, if you talked with Liv and asked her how she was doing, she would commonly respond with a very relaxed, even keeled, fine, good, right? Let's not forget that Snoopy was also an adventurer and a daredevil. As a World War I flying ace, he constantly is trying to beat his arch rival, the Red Baron. Liv is also that competitor and that adventurer, a running athlete who will leave it all out on the field, on the track of the course, but also takes great joy in climbing mountains or being in the wilderness for days at a time. Sometimes Snoopy would sport his sunglasses and become his alter ego, Cool Joe, or Joe Cool, pardon me. For me, this is the image I can truly identify with Liv. She is the calm presence we are looking to in times of uncertainty and that grounding force that every homeroom needs. Lastly, the RBG Award. When I think about Jacqueline, I think of someone who embodies the idea of servant leadership. One who is a fair adjudicator and motivated to be excellent at what she does. On the soccer field, she is consistent, calm force with a natural ability to make those around her better. Off the field, I see many of those same skills at work, but at an even higher level. She has been a leader not only for our homeroom, but for this whole class all 4 years. There's a saying that 90% of life is just showing up. Jacqueline has discovered that what you do with that last 10% is where she can make the best opportunity to change and impact herself and those around her. While this team is made up of 10 spectacular individuals, I want to share a quick story that illustrates how I feel about this group as our journey comes to an end. The story starts in Georgia with a gentleman named Mr. Floyd. Mr. Floyd was a postal employee who retired recently after almost 35 years as a mail carrier. On his last day, a happy and grateful Mr. Floyd drove his route past many decorated mailboxes and stopped as people came out to greet, hug, and shake his hand one last time. In many ways, I feel like Mr. Floyd today. At the end of his day, Mr. Floyd said, "I have seen people through many of life's changes, some good, some bad. They've done the same for me. You were there when I needed you, even if you didn't know it." As I look back and remember this homeroom like Mr. Floyd, I've been looking back on this career and I will smile. Thank you.
I take an opportunity to thank Molly and Jessica, Stephanie and Jay, and Mike for those words. Take a break. Some of the things to think about, if you are still hungry, there is one buffet open over here, but we'll start promptly at 11:20, okay? Thank you. Now, but before we start, I just want to make sure the mic sounds A-okay still? All right, let's continue with Aaron Gabriel. Thank you. Thank you. As many of you know, I'm really busy. The end of the year is super busy for me. I'm working with the 5th and 6th grade kids right now on their production of The Lion King, which is super cute. And sometimes in the middle of their little show, which is only 40 minutes long, this is only going to mean something to maybe a third or half of you. In the middle of it, I'll just stop and I'll go, "Stone Soup." Stone Soup. Some of you remember Stone Soup, and I was looking back at it and I'm thinking, yeah, the circle of life. So the family dinner is a place to connect. We bring everything to the table and we sit together. Come as you are, contribute what you can, and be grateful. I'm the worst advisor for elaborate birthday celebration planning. I go, "Oh yes, and happy birthday." I totally knew that was coming up. But I can throw a really mean Thanksgiving feast in a conference room. In our homeroom, the concept of the family dinner was not always around a table, but more often it was a chaotic circle of chairs, a couch, 11 bodies, and a variety of backpacks and moods. Sometimes in the middle, usually thanks to Ben, there would be baked goods. Everybody has a role, and everybody is a part of the family dynamic, and an important piece of our crazy puzzle. Last September, I thought about these roles, and I chose a word for each of you, a word that I thought fit each of you in a certain way, and even if perhaps you didn't realize it or understand it right away, my hope was that when I shared that word with you, you would consider it throughout your senior year. Vivek, squash champion, student ambassador, yearbook editor, writer, Impact Club leader, and winner of our homeroom best hair competition. I was going to bring a slideshow from freshman year just to show the evolution of Vivek's hair, but I thought I didn't want to show up all the other advisors with that. He can sometimes be a little under the radar because he's not flashy. He would definitely be the wise older brother, or maybe even the wise grandfather of our family meals. He can listen before commenting better than anyone else in the homeroom, myself included. And when he's ready to speak, people listen. Vivek's word was courage. Certainly, he already possessed a fair amount of courage, which any of the seniors sitting here today can likely tell you is a crucial part of an Overlake experience. Everybody has had that moment probably where courage might be the only thing you were feeling like you were taking into that exam. But Vivek, my hope is that your courage, whether you realize it or not, will continue to serve you well, even when you least expect that you will need it. Serena listens, she laughs and smiles, and she includes everyone.
She's a fierce soccer player, of course, but from her dramatic turn as a snowflake dancer in The Wizard of Oz to her effervescent ancestor cheerleader in the Addams Family, I've experienced Serena's devotion to keeping a few theatrics in her life. Serena, in our homeroom family, you had an ability to keep the peace, see everyone's viewpoint, and make sure everyone was heard. Your name definitely played a part in my choice of words for you, but peace is your word. I know that you don't always see yourself as the most peaceful, but I have seen it over and over, and parents in this room know what I mean. You see things in your kids that they don't even know until much, much later. And I can guarantee you from my experience, they do come back later. So take heart, parents. They're coming back. I know that you don't always see it that way, but I am certain that you're gonna grow to realize this gift more and more over the years. Douglas comes to the table because obviously there's food. Right, and there's also a chance to relax with friends. Sometimes it's a discovery of, oh, if I go and she's telling me, then there's gonna be, oh, and my buddies are there, okay. So it's perfect, it's any teenager's dream meal, food and friends. But you know how in every family there's that one person that just needs a few more reminders that he has to get there? That's our Douglas. In 4 years at Overlake, you've truly shown your capacity for tremendous growth in your confidence, your ability to make hard decisions, and your willingness to go forth and do good. It's not something that you brag about in person, but it's there. Your word is fearless. Your ability to take charge, whether it's for your own learning, tutoring kids, working for social justice causes, or playing basketball. These are all things that bring out the very best in you, and I know that they will serve you well in your years to come. Camilla, along with Mahika, I looked at them at our family dinner table as like those twins. They weren't really apart very much, and sometimes it was really, really, really hard to get their attention. But when I did, it was lovely, and they were right there. Of course, they're separate. They have each their own personality, with different things to contribute to the family dinner. Camilla, it has been such a joy to be within your world for 8 years. Over the years, I've watched you make difficult decisions, ride your own personal roller coaster of life with all of its joys and challenges. And you managed to do it all with a smile on your face and joy in your heart. So soar was the word I chose for you. Yes, it was a throwback to your role in Children of Eden because she was the dove of peace. Yeah. And then she was Toto, but I didn't want to go on that whole, I know, she's like, I always had the animal role. So cute though. Nobody rocks a Toto like you do. But also because I knew that this year in particular, my dear, would give you opportunities to do just that, soar. And I know you will continue to do that. Remember to do it even when you have to try. Mahika, she's the other half of the twin sibling. She can definitely sit quiet at the table, but only until she doesn't have the patience anymore and we just need to go to break. Did I do that face okay? Can we go? Can we go? Yes, nevertheless, Mahika chooses her words carefully, and with her friends at her side, she's always her best. How great to have your tennis partner as one of your best friends. I consider that, and I thought, really? Like with your very best friend, you got to play tennis. How lucky, and I'm so proud of both of you. That's such a wonderful thing. I chose the word brave for Mahika because I saw a deep connection with how she was walking her path at Overlake, considering so many wonderful, challenging, academically excellent options, sometimes not being sure, sometimes being frustrated, but marching steadily forward all the time. And life is like that. We don't always get to know exactly why, or exactly how, or exactly when, but with a little bravery, you usually end up just in the right place. I knew Rolf before he was even in my homeroom, not from a class, but usually you could just hear him. Whether it was saxophone in the distance or someone's playing the piano in my room, it was usually Rolf. Rolf's word was creativity, but not just because of his talents. We all know that Rolf is an especially gifted musician. But it was because I wanted you to see that your creative spirit could be rolled into so many aspects of your life. Given your desire to strive for high achievement and push yourself to all the limits, Rolf, I hope that you will always find a way to honor the creative spirit that you possess. In the way that you play your horn and the way you approach life, you will find success if you allow your big heart and creative spirit to guide you. On a more practical level, at our family dinners, Rolf was consistent and reliable, providing spicy shrimp and food for the gods. For all of our family gatherings, thank you, Tessa. Thank you, Rolf. Thank you, Rolf. Yeah. Thank you, Tessa. And thank you, Rolf. Very, very, very consistent. Thank you, Tessa. Okay, Emily's role at our table was one who speaks her mind, but always with an open mind. She gets right to the point, and her insights are often surprising and usually right on point. She's happy to let you share your opinions before she agrees or disagrees, but interestingly enough, she will own her position right alongside her acceptance for all. Emily is unassumingly wise, even to herself, and I've always thought of her as an old soul. This is why the word I chose for her was wisdom. Even when you don't necessarily feel like the wisest one or wise at all, I hope you will believe that about yourself and continue to share it with others. Your work in this world that you've already started is so very important, and you're off to a really strong start and making your own unique impact on our world. Ben's role at the family dinner fluctuated from organizing important and meaningful moments to being late to the table, but he made up for it with baked goods. Thank you, Catherine. He is generous to a fault and enjoys a deep conversation. In thinking back over our 4 years together, I was trying to figure out a place to write, like we love the beanie, Ben. We loved the freshman year beanie. Do you guys remember the freshman year beanie? Okay, Ben's freshman year beanie. It didn't really work with my speech, but I wanted to give it a shout out because we do love it. We do. I have this note here like, mention beanie? I don't know. Anyway, on our freshman retreat, I remember that you reminded us how great it would be if our homeroom and this class at Overlake could feel bonded. There was a lot of bonding jokes. Oh, we're on a retreat, so we can bond. And we talked about that bonding, and your attitude toward it was, well, maybe we just need to make sure that we bond enough to just be ourselves and start enjoying being together for this time that we have. Journey was the word that I chose for you. And thinking about your violin expertise and how you detest practicing, but you love the product. I know that your heart, it's gonna sound so corny, but I know that your heart is full of love. In thinking about your stage roles, from Will Bloom to Harold Hill, and even to Fester, those roles have always been about a journey of love. How our vision of love changes and grows over time throughout our journey. Ben, I know that your heart and your sense of deep love will guide you. Tara. Fresh from Forest Ridge, she came with talent and enthusiasm to spare. And honestly, she has not stopped since she arrived. Except there were a few times, in I think sophomore and junior year, when we had to just sit you down. Okay? We just had to sit you down and have you take like a meditative breath. But you did. So from Annie to Wednesday, we all got to watch you grow up. From the orphan to the angsty teenager. She loves to debate, challenge, listen, and be challenged. So the word I chose for Tara was balance. Given her talents, theatrical and otherwise, and her passions, neuroscience, politics, and otherwise, she understandably had to work hard to achieve some sort of balance. It's the only way to bring out the best part of yourself in everything you do. Tara, you will always have to juggle the things you love, and there will always be so many. But I'm confident that you're heading into the world with meaningful experiences and the thoughtfulness to make it all work. Sam. You have the ability to lean into the dinner conversations, showing openness, great listening skills, and a very, very warm heart. Such worthy and important skills to have right now, too.
ones that will always make you welcome at any table. Over the years, you worked hard to forge your very own path, your very, very own. You took your super nice guy reputation and you made sure that not only were you owning that role with integrity, something oh so rare these days, but you were also unique, loyal, and wholeheartedly ready to take on the challenges that you knew were coming. This year, the word I chose for you was inspire. You have indeed come into your own. I'm inspired by your kindness, your generosity of spirit, and your willingness to walk your path with such great integrity. You find your own inspiration in the world through the lens of your camera. And as you share that with others, please know that you are already inspiring all of us. Before I close, I wanted to take a moment to thank you guys too, for a couple things. My broken heart this year when my mom died, and my broken arm. You guys managed to show up at the times when I needed you. Sometimes advisors need their kids, and you did that a couple times this year, more than a couple times, and it meant a lot to me. So thank you for sharing your Overlake journey with me. My hope is that in time, those words that I gave to you will remain a reminder of our time together and the uniqueness that each of you brought to our table. So Gabe's Babes World Tour, out. Okay, well, someone's got to follow Aaron, so I guess we'll do this. Okay. Hanging on the wall where Homeroom met every week is my favorite quote by Maya Angelou. This is probably not the first time you've heard it because it's a good one. And for my advisees sitting here today, I certainly hope you noticed it at least once in the last 4 years where you should really try to pay more attention to your surroundings when you go to college. It goes, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. This is an idea that I hope has embodied my time with you as your advisor. We can certainly remember funny highlights from our time together, the inside jokes, birthday celebrations with gluten-free options, of course, which was often a banana. Time together during retreats or service days, and especially our one-on-one plus chats. But my sincere hope is that you take away from our time together the memory of how Homeroom made you feel. That it did feel like a room that was your home. That you entered Homeroom, and even during the mundane times, you knew that I cared, that you belonged, and that you were safe and loved. These feelings don't just happen automatically. They're developed and earned over time, but I was playing the long game. Like feeding feral cats, slowly, a little each day until they're comfortable enough to come near you, even in the absence of food. I earned your trust and hopefully your respect. Donuts helped. But I'd like to think that our special bond was because you saw strength in our affinities and our differences, and knew that as a whole we were stronger together than we would be on our own. We've had a few homies go, and we've had a few join us along the way, but our identity remained intact as the Plus Scotch Homeroom, with a beautiful rainbow unicorn mascot drawn by Jack. One time for a homeroom activity, I put each student's name on a piece of paper. We then walked around the room and wrote the qualities we saw in each other below each person's name. At the end, everyone would read the wonderful qualities that others had written about them. We don't take enough time to share with others what we see in them, to recognize the beauty and strength that they might not even see in themselves. So now, I'd like to share a bit about each of my advisees, but before I add my reflections, I'll start by listing a few things that showed up under their names on those papers that now hang on the wall of our homeroom. First is Megan. Authenticity, kindness, a great listener, welcoming, and caring.
These are just some of the words that her peers had to write about her. Megan joined our group at the start of her junior year, which is hard to believe because it seems like she's been with us the whole time. Her warm smile and genuine friendliness made her an instant fit with our group. Moving across the country in the middle of high school wouldn't be an easy endeavor for anyone, but Megan jumped right in with a great attitude about new adventures with an open mind. She dove right into so many school activities, which included enthusiasm for our girls' a cappella group. One-on-one, I had some of the best conversations with Megan. She always was thoughtful to stop and ask how I was doing, and was generally interested in my answer. I'm excited that Megan will return to Virginia in the fall, where she'll be able to enjoy familiar land and reconnect with old friends, but hopefully her 2 years in the Pacific Northwest have left their mark on her as well. The next student is Grace. Trustworthy, kind, reliable, collaborative, empowering, hardworking. I was grateful for the 4 years I've had with Grace. Everyone knows that Grace gives 100%. She continually challenged herself in the classroom and on the field, where her athletic accomplishments are well known, including a state championship recently. Yay. I was always able to rely on Grace to do the right thing and to take on any projects for the homeroom. She was concerned about the homeroom dynamics and making everyone feel welcome. She has a love for serving others. Grace's do-it-all attitude was never more apparent than the time she had me biting my nails at the airport, arriving just in time for our international flight to Rome for our Latin Ancient Field Studies Project Week. You're probably thinking, that doesn't sound like Grace to arrive late to such an important obligation. But she had her reasons. She had just finished an intense lacrosse tryout for a national team all morning, and yet she still managed to make it onto that plane and onto that team. But even more importantly, in her final year at Overlake, Grace really learned to prioritize what matters and how to say no to doing it all so that she had time to say yes to the things that mattered. Next, we have Alex H. We've got two Alex Hobbs. Committed, passionate, fun, respectful, hardworking, and friendly. Of course, when people think of Alex, soccer comes to mind, and I can't even imagine how many hours this girl has spent in cleats in her life. But if you've seen her skill, you know why. Speed like that should not be wasted. Alex always dreamed of continuing her soccer career in college, and happily she will do just that while finally getting to return to her sunny California at the same time. I've come to know Alex to be a thoughtful young woman and a really hard worker. Our student athletes who keep up such grueling practice and game schedules and still manage to keep up with their academic demands impress me so much. She loved to come to homeroom each day and chat with everyone, even when she was understandably exhausted. She added so much to our group with her warm, friendly attitude. Next we have Allie. Motivated, passionate, independent, authentic, caring, sweet, and kind. Allie is another member of our homeroom that has worked tremendously hard to achieve her dreams of competing in high-level college athletics. And rowing wasn't even her main sport until not that long ago. Which is really something, huh? She gave up volleyball to quickly rise to the top in her new sport. Early in the year, Allie was already a committed Texas Longhorn. And I can totally picture her soaking up the Texas life next year in Austin. Wait, they have Starbucks down there too, right? Pretty important for Allie. When I mentioned before that homeroom is all about the long game, Allie really comes to mind. By the end of our 4 years together, Allie was one of the biggest supporters of our time together as a group. She really appreciated our homeroom identity and friendships and how we were such a supportive group that got along so well. So I like that, thank you. Now Alex M. Her words on her paper were a good friend, happy, fun, flexible, kind, teamwork, and achievement. And these aren't all the words, these are the highlight words. I'm so happy that Alex joined our homeroom. Just like with Megan, when Alex arrived, it was like she'd always been there. Alex has the best smile and brought positivity to our casual chats sitting on top of the desks in a circle in our room each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And just when I thought I knew Alex, I'd find out something new. Like casually, like, oh, she's super involved in horse competitions, or volunteer work with horses, and how she's a top-notch lacrosse player too. And how she has an adventurous side that serves her passion for community service all across the globe. Alex wants to one day go into nursing, and we would all be so lucky to have someone like Alex taking care of us. Next is Trey. Integrity, dependable, modest, kind, positive, empowering others. We hit the jackpot having Trey in our homeroom. He's funny, sweet, and most importantly, a thoughtful and honest leader. I could always rely on Trey to say the right thing and to lead us where we needed to go with clear conviction. He gave so much of his talent to our school, most of all with his service through ASB, BSU, other student groups, and not to mention so many of those amazing three-point shots. I had the opportunity to lead Trey as part of our exchange program to Spain, and he was often the life of the trip, quickly forming strong bonds with the students there with his charm and charisma, and making each social event memorable. No matter where Trey goes, he brings his best self. I must mention that I also especially enjoyed dancing the night away with Trey as our DJ at Owl's Night Out this year. Many of you did too. That young man is certainly adaptable, and he is going to leave his mark wherever he goes. Okay, next we have Jack. Fun, exciting, energetic, kind, and friendly. When Jack read these very positive adjectives that his fellow homeroom students had written about him, he wasn't impressed. Apparently, we had gone for the low-hanging fruit, the obvious. The trouble, as Jack saw it, was that it was very clear to everyone that he was fun, silly, the life of the party. But Jack is actually so much more. Jack is spirit. He is brains and charm and humility all wrapped up into one. He has a depth of character and a sincere desire to do the right thing and make this world a better place. His peers also pointed out that he is kind, respectful, and authentic. But from that point on, I think Jack did let people in on more of these deeper qualities. And besides those wonderful characteristics, the guy has skills. Did you know he can make a robot? One time in homeroom, some wiring was out on a decoration of mine, and he just rewired it for me. Or when our Holiday Helpers program came along, he was the first to jump in with the tools to assemble the bike we had purchased for a needy child. Because wouldn't it just be nicer to get a bike on Christmas morning rather than a box of bike parts? Jacob. High expectations, justice, self-respect, authentic, passionate, trustworthy. Jacob is a man with convictions. He was so involved in the political-oriented clubs and kept high standards for himself in his own education. He was an accomplished part of our orchestra, and he was fearless in trying new things, and he loved being a part of all the various sports teams at Overlake. Some of you might not know this, but Jacob spent quite a bit of time outside of the classroom as a cook at a Mexican restaurant. Back to building those important skills that I think will make him very popular in college. He is always interested and curious to learn, which is probably why he is such an avid traveler. Jacob's true passion is politics, and I'm so thrilled that he had the opportunity to do a senior project in DC to get some firsthand experience in the political world that he is sure to be involved in the future. Jacob always gives off a calm and collected vibe wherever he is, but is always willing to give his honest opinion. I really appreciated how well I got to know Jacob over the last 4 years because he was willing to make such an investment in our relationship. He spoke openly and honestly with me often, and I truly valued that. Maylee. Positive, creative, caring, reliable, compassionate, and growth. Maylee is the definition of reliable. She is so cheery and punctual. I don't think that Maylee has ever been late to homeroom, and she keeps us on schedule and in the right place. She was kind of my personal assistant, like, don't we need to be there? Once I had enough time with Maylee, it was so great to learn about her creative side and her great sense of humor. Maylee makes things look easy, and she always does it with style.
I personally enjoyed the times I would do my Sunday Target run and get to go through Maylee's checkout line in Factoria. She took pride in her job, as she did with everything that she does. Her senior project, creating a scrunchie business, is the perfect example of her combination of style, creativity, and business savvy. Even I am now a proud owner of a Maylee Sweet Little Scrunchie Original. Watch out, LA, because Maylee is coming your way. I have 2 children of my own at home right now, and starting next year, both of them will be Overlake Owls. But I can honestly say that these 9 special Overlake students have become my other kids. I've watched them grow and mature and become people that will leave our school and make their next communities better just by being a part of them. I will miss them very much next year and hope that they'll continue to check in with me for some time to time for another Plus chat. In the future, when I remember our 4 years together, I will certainly remember many of the things you all said and did, but I will mostly remember how you made me feel. Fortunate, proud, humbled, and grateful for our time together. Thank you.
Okay. I want to spend most of my time honoring each individual student. However, I will say that our homeroom had some fun times in MS6, which is the extra classroom in the Math Sci building. So you can read this as small and full of weird things. We ate many, many donuts, watched some online shows that maybe weren't as PG as they had originally led me to believe. Speculated on the feats of biology growing in the sink, and discovered jumping in and out of the windows. You'd think this last one would have happened freshman year, but no, this was once they were all legal adults, this year. To keep things simple, I'm gonna go alphabetically, so I'll start with Stephen. Stephen, you are someone who always makes me laugh. In fact, there are so many things that come to mind that I never get through them in the 1 minute I'm allotted. Whether it's hiding in the bushes at retreat, chasing after people in your patented 4-limbed gaits that you've perfected over time, or just cracking jokes about the absurdities of life, you've always lightened our homeroom. However, there's more to you than your ability to laugh or make others laugh. You have a strong sense of honesty and truth that gives you the backbone to stand up for your beliefs, regardless of whether they are popular or not, and to do the right thing, even if that's not the easy thing. You own up to mistakes that you make, and you apologize when it's warranted, something that makes you a strong person and a loyal friend to people in and out of our homeroom. When I wrote your letter of recommendation for becoming an Eagle Scout, I probably went a little bit overboard, but truly, I can't think of anyone who more perfectly embodies the traits of an Eagle Scout than you. I hope you continue to carry those traits with you into college and beyond. Julia. When I think about Julia, I think about someone who is unique and marches to the beat of her own drum. Throughout our 4 years together, Julia has remained wholly committed to her art, combining her sciencey side, which is her love of technology, engineering, and robotics, with her artistic side to create her unique illustrations and cartooning. This passion not only earned her a place in the School of Art Institute of Chicago, but in fact, her talent was preemptively recognized by the school and she was recruited to go there. Although most people would describe Julia as fairly quiet at school, when you sit down and talk to her about one of her passions, she bubbles over with enthusiasm. In a time and a culture when everyone is quick to conform, whether it's buying the same clothes, listening to the same music, or even taking the same classes, Julia never compromises her own vision, even if that means she's doing her own thing as she forges her own path. From the very beginning of her time at Overlake, Julia's known what she's wanted and she's had her own sense of self, and I've so admired that inner fortitude that she's displayed. Mariel. Mariel, you are my jack of all trades and my fellow horse lover. One of the things I've always enjoyed in our homeroom is hearing about your horses. I've loved all the Cecil and Corey pictures and hearing about their antics. However, the saying, jack of all trades, master of none, definitely doesn't apply to you. Over the years, teachers from different disciplines always came up to me and they'd quietly say things like, Mariel's just the best science student, or Mariel's such a good art student, Or Mariel's a whiz at languages. And it always made me laugh on the inside because they said it in this conspiratorial way, like it was special to them or their discipline. And I wanted to reply that it was you that was special because you have that rare ability to flourish in any area. In and out of school, you've always done classes or hobbies or sports purely because they interested you, not for the grades or the resume or the accolades. I wish in high school that I would have been more willing to step out of my comfort zone and try all the things that you've experienced. Mariel, I hope you always keep on learning new things, exploring different fields, and pursuing your passions. Xander, you always kept us laughing and entertained. In teaching your sister this year, I can see that it runs in the family. One of my favorite homeroom experiences has been all the conversations we've had about your love of smoothies. The Costco-sized quantities of peanut butter, the mental conversions everyone did in their head around issues like how many cups are actually in a liter, or how many ounces of smoothie has Xander actually had today? And best of all, the infamous life skills assignment, where we all debated extensively over whether it was justified that you were graded down for serving a smoothie as the meal you were assigned to make. You countered by saying it counted because you would serve a smoothie on a date. And that ignited a whole new dialogue in our home. This is just one example of many of how you brought our homeroom together and got everyone talking to each other. But despite your light and humorous side, I've enjoyed seeing you make so much personal growth over the years. You've learned what works for you and you've stuck with it and had so much success, flourishing on the lacrosse field and in the classroom. You've matured from a brand new freshman still finding his way to a young man truly ready to go off to college and thrive. Vivian. I've loved having Vivian as an advisee because she's so different from me. I have the kind of artistic skills where people ponder my stick figures in confusion, like, that's great, is that a person? They don't know. Vivian, on the other hand, has the kind of artistic skills that stop people in their tracks. I still remember the Uncle Sam poster from 11th grade retreat. We were given about 15 minutes to whip out a quick sign to get people to donate to a food drive. Most people's posters looked about how you would expect, given 15 minutes and some Crayolas. Not Vivian's. In her quiet, offhand way, she sketched an Uncle Sam poster that drew a crowd. People were actually taking selfies with her Safeway donation poster. Vivian is like that, though. When she takes something on, she takes it on. Like her college application art portfolio. After she showed me her collection on her website, I was so impressed, I ran back to the Mass Sci office and went around person to person showing everyone. Some people more than once. Oops. Vivian, I'm so proud of you for going after your dreams, and while I'm no art critic, even I know your future at art school and beyond shines bright. Kristen always inspires me with her commitment to service. At an age and time where a lot of people are focused on themselves, Kristen has spent a lot of her high school career focusing on others, the pinnacle of which was leading Outreach Club this year. I frequently found her sorting through donations, packing boxes, and making announcements to get her classmates involved in service. Similarly, Kristen has balanced a pretty significant workload, often working more than 20 hours a week at her job while going to school and running Outreach. While these are all impressive feats, what makes me so excited is when Kristen talks about turning her passion for helping others into a career and becoming a teacher. When I first decided to become a teacher, there were people out there that downplayed the idea, saying things like, oh, teachers don't make very much money, or teachers don't get a lot of respect. In fact, there were times when they almost talked me out of it. So when Kristen talks about wanting to teach elementary school, that makes me so happy, because teaching is the best job ever, and I can't imagine someone more prepared at 18 for teaching than Kristen. So Kristen, don't let anyone stand in your way. You have big dreams, and I know you'll go out there and get them. Jasmine. So Jasmine's not actually here today, so I just made a short one about her. But she's the student who almost makes teachers and advisors redundant. I still remember in freshman year, when a family emergency took her to India for a month, she missed an entire unit in science, and when she came back, she took the test the very next day and still got 100%. to science and to medicine has been impressive, as was her leadership in Science Olympiad with our team this year. Jaslyn, I'm so excited to hear about all the fun science courses that await you in the next 4 years and beyond. Michael, in many ways, you are the advisee who is most similar to me, for better and for worse. Both of us share that fiercely competitive nature where we're always striving for perfection in all aspects of our lives and learning to balance that desire to be the best with the reality that not every person, test, game, or situation will work out how we want. I've really enjoyed our conversations over the years and watching you grow, not only as a student, but as a person as well. I'm proud of you for taking on challenges that were purely for the sake of learning and exploration, like you did with your design team and with robotics, and for being courageous enough to have difficult conversations when the situation warranted. I've seen you push yourself with challenging classes and take on a leadership role on the Ultimate Frisbee field. I know that as you go off to Tufts in the fall, you'll continue to strive to be the best person you can be in and out of the classroom. Toby, you are my steady Eddie. Like a metronome, but not boring or monotone. You consistently handle each and every challenge thrown your way without ever missing a beat. Your emotional stability and sunny disposition were always in evidence, even in those dark and frantic points of the year. As strong and capable as our homeroom was, there were still some memorable instances of wailing and gnashing of teeth during particularly fraught times when I heard such refrains as, "This workload is a nightmare," or "That teacher is impossible," or the frequent one, "How will I ever get this paper done on time?" Don't get me wrong, these are all relatable feelings that I remember feeling myself when I was in high school and college. But Toby, you just kept your head up and got it all done without complaint. It's funny because a lot of the buzzwords floating around in educational research today are things like grit and resilience. And I always think you're such a good example of this. You have that interpersonal strength that's going to carry you over whatever hurdles you face. So, to my homeroom, thank you for being such a great first advisory. You're more than I could ever ask for. Congratulations, and I hope you have a wonderful college and beyond.
Hi. Here's the problem with going last. You gotta have a lot of grit and resilience, because let's see, the song theme has been taken, animals, awards, significant words. My Maya Angelou quote is out the door. Dinner tables, those things are all burnt. So instead, let's start off with some apologies. First, I'll apologize to the administration and to the ATLs, they oversee our advisory, and to parents themselves in attendance. There were far better communicators that you could have had in the senior advisory group than I. Those August phone calls didn't always come home. Yes, there were some emails that I probably should have sent to tell you about the academic prowess and greatness of your children. Apologies for that. But what could I have told you that you didn't already know? That Eddie isn't the hardest working, intelligent kid who loves his enormous family, who can only be stopped by his own proclivity to bite off more than he can chew? That Jenny isn't one of the kindest hearts you will ever come across and brings joy to the homeroom, the stage, and at the tennis court? Never misses a musical, a homeroom, or the opportunity to bring happiness to others? Speaking of happy, Nikhil always seems to be happy all the time. But behind that easygoing smile is this huge, big brain thinker, who I quickly tagged as the professor. However, he hasn't been able to figure out, of all things, how to make macaroni and cheese, which I feel is a great growth opportunity for him. Who knew? Nikhil, I hope you're listening somewhere on your senior project in the Galapagos. You pour out the water after you cook the pasta. Did you need to know that Jana's sassy, engaging personality kept us all on our toes every single day, and her energy and spirit that she brings to teams like ours embodies leadership? Or the admiration I have for Kayla, who flourished in many leadership roles at Overlake, particularly in Forefront Club, a peer-based group that focuses on the mental health and support of others. She was both a high-level soccer player, yet a role model captain for our soccer program, and is achieving her goal of playing college soccer. Go Toreros. Or that Charlie carries his dear father's very dry sense of humor and can't get through a morning without reminding me of the potential perils of the new Overlake. All the while being the consistent student, skilled athlete, great trumpet player, and loyal friend that he is. That Jen comes to homeroom quietly, regularly, and uses the time like many to decompress from the challenging balance of annually playing 2 sports and always playing a role in the play, like the lead in our town, as well as volunteering to coordinate the entire makeup for the cast of Addams Family. Nice job. In fact, that was some awesome makeup. Or how proud you should be of Rosie overcoming all that life has thrown at her in high school, plus somehow conquering the bad luck of 2 ACL surgeries and all the rehab that comes with it in her successful pursuit of her dream of playing college soccer. Go Tigers. Or Zach, who so quietly, so understatedly, enjoys all those around him and engages in wide-ranging discussions and debates, especially with our premier debaters, Jana and Charlie, and his peers' discussions, and entertains his peers' discussions of their future collegiate, of their college futures playing sports, knowing that his own legacy will end as a high school athlete, most likely, but will be one for the record books. As they know, I'm not short on words, and I was never short on bagels because you guys ate like hundreds of them before you figured out they're not great for you. So my theme instead is going to be, at the root of the word advisor is some advice. You don't get off that easy. Here we go. Nikhil, who we'll just kind of assume is right there. I'll miss that happy look on your face every morning that says, here and I'm happy. But in fact, you might have been mentally, and for that matter, physically, millions of miles away right now, working as a freshman, working on that award-winning website on the Zika virus, or on the website in 10th grade on the teenage brain. So for some of you parents out there that would like the URL for the teenage brain, I'll track it down for you. Professor, please continue to smile during your wonderful pursuit in the world of science. I know the bigger world will be a better place because you're making it one. Jenny. I will miss that sound judgment, maturity, and the kindness that does not let an injustice pass. I feel like you never really got caught up in teen drama and you're so ready for the next chapter of your life. What I do regret is not having the pleasure of conversing with you in French, considering the passion you have for it as the former editor-in-chief of the French Literary Magazine and the founder of the French Club. My French sucks. Okay. However, in any language, your compassion for others will continue to serve you well. I'm so glad there are now 4 Stelarzics who have found their way to UW. What a great family legacy for one of my favorite families. Special thanks to Jackie, who shot photos of us for 4 years to show the growth. And I remember when this guy was so tiny and scrawny, he was like the little brother in our homeroom, and now he's just like a big man. So thank you for that. Thank goes out. Good thing my voice projects. Jen, I will miss your inner strength, confidence in your work ethic, your passion for school, family, the stage of sports. Makes all of us very proud of you for taking on so much so successfully. You engaged in the college selection process early and often, as you and your dad visited countless schools even before your senior year. Your ability to stay organized and prepared for the challenges that life throws at all of us will serve you so well. And please remember that not everyone has the talents that you have. Jana, I will miss your big heart, as you always are there for so many people, though you have so much on your own plate. Your feistiness is a gift, as is your willingness to question authority. Even when you're at odds about an injustice, By the way, that explains your interest in law. You can turn on a dime and enjoy your friendships. You and your green and gold striped overalls help bring school spirit back to very loud student sections, and I will miss that next year as the athletic director. Keep your voice, stand up for what is right, and if the law is your thing, go learn how to make real change in the lives of others, and keep smiling. Charlie, oh, here we go. Charlie, high school has been among the best and saddest times in your life, but it should teach you this. You're a great son from a beloved family who got through hardships by being there for each other, the way you were there for your friends as well. What you have done for Cancer Pathways since those dark days shows the character and resilience that you have and how you've helped other kids who've gone through similar experiences. Bless you for doing so. You have the gifts of charisma and a moral compass that, when working together, can move mountains. Keep making the comp sci crowd stand up and take notice. They can use more guys with a dry sense of humor who can not only read code, but read people. This modern world needs more people like you. Eddie, I'll miss your optimism and the happy-go-lucky guy that you are. Your lack of homeroom punctuality made me look good, and I thank you for that. There are no more than 24 hours in a day, no matter how much you try to defy it. You're passionate about all sorts of group activities, which I can trace back to your huge, wonderful family as one of 14 kids. I also know that you eventually will create that family feeling in, of all places, business, as you aim to connect with people on a high level, working toward the same goals like a crazy, huge, wonderful family. Sometimes it won't be pretty. You will eventually be successful at it, however. Keep leading, others will follow you where you want to go. Rosie, you've grown up so much. You have such a strong will. It's so wonderful to see you grab a hold of a passion like the world of law after a role model teacher like Heidi Wilbrandt opened up your eyes to the possibility. Heidi embodied the kind of strength and character we want all of our students to have. Even if it came with a ton of work, you answered the bell just like you did negotiating the difficult path to be a college soccer player. The strength of your conviction in that pursuit, even when your body wasn't up to the task at times, achieved your goal. I couldn't be more proud of you. Kayla, you've dominated soccer without it dominating you and what you've been able to do. You volunteered, of all things, as a basketball coach at clinics for the city of Redmond for kids with disabilities. Though the basketball part may have been a little outside your comfort zone, the compassion and patience you showed working with these kids was so Kayla. Thanks again for caring enough about student mental health at Overlake to really develop Forefront Club. Your work will make others safer as they tackle the challenges of going to the school and balancing all that is expected of them. Continue to leverage what you've learned in sports into your passions. The determination that you've shown in your sport is easily transferable to a world which needs kind and compassionate leaders who aren't afraid to roll up their sleeves and make it a better place. Zach, I will never think of you as confused. Though wading through the teenage years is never easy, nor does it happen without the challenges which test that developing frontal cortex, you have this great inner strength of calculated calmness. You knew that you wanted to excel in high school sports, so even before you started out that journey, you called me up to ask, I'm going to earn 12 varsity letters, therefore I need a fall sport. What should I do? Though you chose cross country without ever running before, even after Michael Orr said, I don't know how he's ever going to get a letter as a freshman, it's almost impossible in my program. You went on to not only get those 12 letters, but as Michael put it, you became a generational athlete. You're so much more than that, Zach. Take that mental strength, trust those calculations in that calm head of yours, and go get a win in life. I thank all of you for every day, the grind, coming in, smiling when you didn't want to, sharing your lives with me, and I hope that we can continue that as we go forward. Thank you.
Aaron, Kelly, Ashley, Mr. Wiley, thank you. Before I head into acknowledgements, I want to share with you a few announcements. As you head out, seniors, there is a special gift for you, so don't forget to pick it up there. Families, if you didn't see these already, they're out there for you to pick up, and just a picture of every student in our class. All right, those are great speeches. Laughs, indeed, also some tears. Before we head out on this day, I want to thank first the Senior Brunch Committee. As Matt mentioned, Judith and Sandy were the co-chairs this beautiful day, so I want to go ahead and give them a round of applause. Lydia, Tanya, Dee Dee, Terry, Holly, and Patty, thank you so much for also helping out. With us today, I also want to thank our student support team for thinking about the mental health and wellness of the student body. Go ahead, Kelly. Ozzy, Tanya, and Kate are not here today, but as you all know, we wouldn't see the caliber of colleges and universities that these kids will be attending next year without their support. So let's give them a round of applause. To our senior advisors, thank you. It is not easy to put your heart on your sleeve, be it up here on the stage and or over those 4 years. So I want to thank you for what you have done for these kids. Our ATL, so thanks for leading the way among the advisory team. Today, I really appreciate it. As a cohort, you're more than welcome to hang out and mingle, but this concludes our ceremony. Thank you so much.